So I read Wild Houses by Colin Barrett. Is this the most Bookerish Booker Prize book to ever be nominated for the Booker Prize? Try saying that 10 times. It was just so apparent to me when I was reading it. It was like the writer had taken a checklist of everything that the Booker Prize loves and was like, I'll put this in the book, I'll put that in the book. And it made me, I had mixed feelings about it. I don't know. It's probably the cleanest debut that I've read in a long time. Like, I would not have got the sense at all that this was the first book that this author had put out, because the structure was nice, the pacing was nice. I was like, oh wow. Usually with a debut, you're like, this is messy. And you're sometimes here for it. But usually you're like, this needs some more editing. This, I was like, hey, that's kind of solid. My biggest hang up, of course, was that there's probably about a dozen other Booker nominated, at least, probably Booker winning books that have very similar themes, very similar storytelling. So this doesn't feel particularly memorable. It was kind of one of those where you're reading it and you know those films that you watch and you want to enjoy them, but you know that it's like Oscar bait? That's how this feels. It was like, I wish it had more of its own personality. Because if I'm not mistaken, Ireland has won the Booker Prize for Fiction 5 or 6 times. It's been quite a few, and that's very understandable because Ireland has like some of the greatest writers to have ever lived. But it's getting to a point where if you've read enough books in the Booker library, the repetition of it can be a little dull. You need to find a new angle. Like the year before this one, The Bee Sting, I feel like that Paul Murray? Is it Paul Murray? I think that book was quite popular because it had a more interesting angle to it. Yes, it was Irish stories, but it was like multi-generational, like soap opera type stuff. It was like funny. It went in a new direction, which made it interesting. Like it's not just Irish books as well. Like I feel a similar way about like South African books that talk about apartheid. It's like, yes, this is important. We shouldn't forget it. However, what's your spin on the story? What's your take? Like, I think Damon Galgut, who won for The Promise, that book had a refreshing look at the apartheid through the lens of like, oh, it's a revenge tale for this woman who was promised the estate after this person died and then never got it because of the racism that was happening in South Africa. So find something new that hasn't been explored yet, like in the story, so that I, as a reader who has probably read other books on the topic, can feel like we're doing uncharted territory. Like, you know what I mean? Because more or less this was just Irish The Outsiders. Like, it's not more complicated than that. It's like young people in Ireland, there's gang violence. There's 2 brothers in the English family, Killian and Donegal, but he's called like Dole for short. And the younger brother has been taken hostage as penance for the older brother not paying his debts to this gang. So that's pretty much the whole story. Like, it's a hostage situation. Give us the money you owe us or your little brother's gonna get it. And it's tense. There's some interesting scenes, but for the most part it's like, yeah, it's very expected. It really occupies that middle ground where, yes, I do think it deserved its place on the long list, but it's not brilliant enough to quite make the short list. So, but then also, this was the year that Orbital won, so the judges were clearly smoking something. What I would really like is if someone gave us a little bit of, like Brian Friel's translations, like that play. I want that as like a novelisation. Give me historical fiction that goes back to the 19th century. The English are colonising Ireland. It's horrifying. They're making them change their language to English. All of that stuff. But give me like the historical side of it and make it like an epic novel that's hundreds and hundreds of pages. I think that would be really cool. But do I recommend this one? Kind of. If you have like a personal predilection for Irish fiction, maybe you are Irish, sure, why not? But there are probably more interesting versions of this story that I've been told already. So it's up to you.